Hi, my name is Marnie Winters. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. The purpose of this channel is to provide college and career information to individuals. Today's topic is effective note-taking. I hope that this information will be helpful to everybody viewing. With effective note-taking, the first strategy I would like to make, and actually this is a really good organization technique also, is to buy separate notebooks for each one of your classes. And actually you'll need to buy some of those 2-pocket folders also. And when you're buying the folders and the notebooks, make sure that you buy those all in different colors, and make sure that the notebooks and the folders are separate colors, but colors that match each other. So for instance, buy a yellow notebook and a yellow folder, a red notebook and a red folder, a green notebook and a green folder, a blue notebook and a blue folder. Then pair the colors up between folders and notebooks and assign a color to a different class. So for instance, red equals math, green equals science, blue equals history, so forth on down the line. When you're going to pack your backpack, if you know you only need to take one subject, and say for instance you need to take your information for science, you'll know that green equals science, so you'll take the green notebook and the green folder. And the reason why the single subject notebooks is a good idea is because if you've got a 5-subject notebook and 5 classes, those notebooks will be really thick, they'll be a little bit heavy. There's no sense in taking your notes with you for all 5 subjects if you only need to take one. Lighten your load, take only the single subject notebook. It's a lot smaller, it weighs less. You've got the notes you need. You can leave everything else at home. It'll make your backpack smaller, easier to transport, easier to get around. You've got exactly what you need. As far as the content that you are putting into the notebooks, exactly what information is it that should go there? How do you know what it is that you need to take notes on? Well, there are certain key statements that you should be listening for as you're in class. Those key statements are always an indicator that you're going to run across that information later, quite possibly on a test, on a quiz, on some kind of a homework assignment where the teacher's not going to be around to ask questions. I've got the statements written down here on a piece of paper in my lap, so I'm going to be looking. If you wonder why I'm looking down, I want to make sure I don't miss anything for you. Some of those statements may sound simple, but really it's the statements that are going to lead up to information you'll come across later. And those statements include, this is important, this is on the test, you need to know this later, this led to, an important date, this is known as, the effect of this is good to know. Those are lead-in statements that lead to the information that you're going to need to know later. And the teacher is saying those because that's his indicator to you, hey, write this down. I want to make sure that you've got this. And teachers will also do other things that let you know that there's information that you need to be writing down. They'll be speaking slowly, and the reason they're speaking slowly is because they're trying to give you a chance to write it down. They'll also start repeating information. Sometimes the instructor may say the same thing, almost the exact same words 3 or 4 times. They're repeating it over and over again so that you have a chance to write it down. And those are good verbal cues that it's important information that you're going to come across in the future. If a teacher writes something down on a chalkboard, make sure that you write it down. They're not writing it down up there because they think it's fun. They're writing it down up there because they want to make sure that you have a chance to copy it, so that you've got that in your notes, so that you can go home and have that information in front of you to prepare for a test or for a homework assignment that's in the future. Teachers will also give handouts in class too. Some more than others. Some really like to give the handouts. Now, the information is going to be written down on the handout, so you don't need to be taking specific notes on that in your notes because you already have it written down. So this is a good place to actually take a highlighter and highlight the information that the teacher's covering. Now you don't want to highlight everything because that defeats the purpose of highlighting. The purpose of highlighting is to be drawing your eyes to a specific area. So what you want to highlight is a heading, or use the highlighter to draw a box around an area. Don't highlight the whole thing. Just highlight the specific area that you know you need to go read or to distract information from, so that you can be able to study that, to memorize it, to be able to prepare for a test or a homework assignment. If you are in a position where you feel like you have missed something and you need to ask the teacher to repeat some information, it is okay to ask them to repeat it. Don't feel self-conscious, because odds are if you need to have the teacher repeat something, somebody else in the class does too. So it's not going to benefit just you by having that repeated. And you're not going to be slowing down the class or drawing bad attention to yourself or anything. Somebody else likely out there is going to need it also. It is okay to ask to repeat. Teachers will often give test reviews too. Now, not all of them will, but a lot of them will give a test review a day or two before the test. Make sure that you write everything down, because that's going to turn into your study guide. That's going to tell you what it is that you need to study to be able to prepare for the test. And you want to have everything written down so that you can prepare as well as you can to put your best foot forward and get the highest possible score on the test. Another the advice that teachers will use too when they're in the class is to maybe use like an overhead projector, or these days a lot of classes have computers in them where you have a large screen. So they may do like a PowerPoint presentation or a slideshow, or use some kind of computer program where you can see notes that they've made. Copy those down too. The teacher has put the important information up on those notes, up on those slides, and it's likely information you're going to come across later. And they wouldn't spend all the time creating something and put information in it that you don't need to know. So if they went through and spent all the time and effort to put the information on some visual aid for you, then that's because they want to make sure that you've got it and that you can take notes on it and you have it to be able to prepare. And the last piece of advice is, if you are a slow note taker, it is okay to ask the teacher if you can use a tape recorder or a digital voice recorder to be able to record the lectures, because then you can go home and listen to those later, and if you have missed anything in your notes, you can add that information into your notes to make sure that you have it to study from. And that's a trick I used to use all the time when I was in classes. I used to have little micro recorders with little mini tapes, and I asked a lot of different teachers if I could tape their lectures, and I never once had the teacher tell me no. But you're still going to want to ask anyway, because it's just a respectful thing to do, to ask permission to let them know what you're doing. Odds are they're going to tell you yes, and that way you've got an extra device so that you can go back and listen later, and you can go back and take notes. And then even if you did miss something, even if you asked them to repeat it, you've still got a vocal backup of what was said, so that way you can go ahead and add that to your notes, and it just helps reduce and even eliminate the chances that you have missed something really important from happening in class. So if you follow these tidbits and these strategies that I gave you in this video, it's going to help improve your note-taking efforts in class, and essentially it's going to help improve your homework grades, help improve your paper grades, and really hopefully help improve your test grades too, or help you maintain those high grades if you're one who consistently earns high grades. It'll help make things a lot easier as you move through classes, and especially once you start getting on to the harder ones where the concepts are a lot more difficult to grasp and maybe it's harder to keep up in those classes. So these test-taking strategies will definitely make things a lot easier for you in the long run. Well, thank you for tuning in today. That's all the information that I've got. I hope that you found this informative, and I hope to have another video up soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.